So what if I was to tell you that not only is everything energy, and so life is kind of an illusion. It is a virtual reality. It is a hologram. It is kind of the matrix because everything is energy. And that I can't just tell you that, but I can prove it to you because I can teach you how to see energy and that energy is everywhere. If you want to know the real truth, you have to experience it for yourself. There's no cheating there because when you can see it and you can see it with your own eyes, a profound transformation begins because there you are and it's alive and it's real and it's right in front of your face. You begin to see reality for what it is, not because you think it, but because you know it. And it's so simple, it's almost funny. But here it is. Step 1, you want to start by turning down the lights. Get yourself in a slightly dark, dimly lit room. Now, you want to close your eyes for just a second, and you want to visualize bright white light, which is energy, prana, filling the entire room. And you want to visualize it almost to the degree that you can feel it if you can't actually feel it. And so when you see the energy in the air, you want to inhale, and as you inhale, you want to pull that energy into you. You want to absorb it. So inhale and pull the energy in, and exhale. And you want to do this 3 times. So close your eyes, visualize the energy, inhale, exhale. Inhale, pull the energy in. And now open your eyes. And you want to look around the room. You can also look straight ahead. But the main thing is you want to be relaxed and you want to use your peripheral vision. And so that means you want to look at what's most in the corner of your vision, not what's straight on. If you've been practicing seeing the aura, you're actually going to find this is going to be easier. So next step is looking around. You want to try and notice a slight static in the air. It's going to look like a bunch of little dots or a bunch of little pixels, kind of like the old TV stations before cable, and not the wavy lines, but just these little pixelated points. And you're going to see it kind of floating in the air, but of course it's not actually in the air, it's everywhere. And so you're just going to try and look for the static. Now it might help if you look at a blank wall or something that's very plain, maybe like a couch or your floor even. The static is going to look like it's over everything. It's going to look like a texture, like a layer. Now if you're having trouble seeing it, you actually want to turn your lights down even darker. Try even pitch black. Sometimes in the pitch black, the static's going to pop out. The trick is first noticing it. Once you notice, you want to actually breathe in with your eyes still open that energy and then try and increase your vibration. What you're basically doing is you're trying to get your mind to tune more into the energy, which is going to make the static seem brighter and thicker. It's not because the energy itself is actually getting thicker, but it's because your mind is actually tuning more into that frequency of energy, which makes it appear brighter to you. So one thing we're going to do right now is we're going to apply a special effect on the video, and it's going to make the static come out so you can get a better sense for exactly what it is you're looking for. Another thing to look for is once you can start to see the static, try turning all the lights off. And what you might notice is as you're looking at the different particles, is that you might notice that they have color. Some are slightly blue and some are slightly red. And just like the aura, the more you practice seeing the static in the air, the brighter it's going to get, the easier you're going to notice it. Even in broad daylight, you'll be able to see the static energy everywhere. Once you begin to enter into this energy reality, things won't play by the same set of rules. You might notice that walls begin to breathe, and sometimes things will even appear translucent or transparent. And that's because you're tuning in more as things truly are, as energy and not physical objects. More than likely, you've probably seen energy in the air before, most likely when you were younger, but you taught yourself to ignore it. So try and bring it back. When you combine this with seeing the aura, the two accelerate each other, so try working with both at the same time. If you like this video,
Modern Science, Part 1b, the Carhillion Aura. Using a device called a Carhillion photography machine, we can photograph the aura. The device uses a flat metal plate with a camera underneath it. When an object is placed on the plate and a low level of electrical current is run through the metal, a photograph taken through the metal plate of the underside of the object placed on top of it will also show the small electrical charge casting bolts across field lines as the current in the metal plate is transducted into the object set on top of it. Some would contest that because it is being amplified by the charged plate, the energy captured in the photograph is not native to the object being depicted. However, the introduction of electricity into an object will still react in only one of two ways. One way, sparks, for a living object, and another, glows, for an inanimate object. Also, the color scale established between them, with blue sparks depicting for a living object, and a red glow emanating evenly for a dead or inanimate object, is unique to Carhillion photos. Long exposure Carhillion photographs, such as this one of an apple, can show the amount of life an object has in it, as the high end of the blue end of the lifeline color spectrum of Carhillion photos fades to a bright white light the longer the exposure time. Long exposures of living objects can, however, be confused for high amplitude short exposure photos of non-living objects, because in both there is a high voltage of white light depicted. However, as we see in this Carhillion photo of a half an apple, a long exposure of a living object shows the white shifting of the blue sparks, while the white light in any duration of exposure time of a dead object will only depict the amplitude of the electrical current being passed through it. The aura of living objects depicted in Carhillion photos is a combination of the current being passed through the metal plate and the natural electrical charge of the living object. The result, as we see here in this depiction of a pair of human hands, shows up in Carhillion photos as a halo of blue sparks formed between the living object and the metal plate. Where the hands are pressed against the plate, these blue sparks appear to form halos or an aura, the light of which actually illuminates the rest of the hands, which are not touching the metal plate, but which are still visible in this photo. The white light of these blue sparks distinguishes a living object from the darkness or red glow of an inanimate object. The dark red glow of a dead object should not be confused with the pale light of the blue sparks that can reflect from the surface of the metal plate to illuminate the rest of the living object in a Carhillion photograph. As the medium-length, medium-amplitude depiction of a leaf on the left shows, the life force is leaving the dying leaf. The edges are surrounded by a halo of blue sparks, while the interior of the leaves has begun to shift toward a dark red glow. In the Carhillion photo of a metal key on the right, we see it emits no light from within it, and instead is just a shadow profiled by the purple glowing white sparks of the electricity sent through it by the metal plate. In these low amplitude, long exposure Carhillion photos of a key, a leaf, a starfish, and a coin, we see the different forms of aura or energy field each emits. The key glows a dark red. The living leaf is silhouetted by a dark blue halo. The starfish's spines emit the same effect as the leaf, a halo of blue sparks, while the coin emits a pale red glow uniformly from its flat surface. Because in Carhillion photos, both living and non-living objects appear to emit an electrical aura indicative of what has been implied as a soul, it is important to understand the distinct differences in traits of these auras to be able to, by looking at a Carhillion photo of any object, determine if the object was alive or dead when the photo was taken. As mentioned before, a low amp, long exposure of the soul of a living object can appear similar to the high amp, short exposure of the soul of a dead object. Consider this high amp, short exposure Kirlian photo of a Celtic cross. As one runs a high voltage of electrical current through an inanimate object, it does appear to take on the same essential characteristic traits as exhibited by a low voltage applied over a longer duration to a living object. Their similarities are only illusory, however, in light of the fact that metal, despite magnetic shadowing, does not retain enough semblance of an electrical charge after the current applied to it is removed for it to be considered an animate, self-electrifying object. It is this self-electrification, defining living as opposed to inanimate objects, that is shown in Kirlian photos. Second form of photography, making use of the same essential method of technology as the Kirlian metal plate designs, but measuring only the electrical transduction between 5 small metal circles and the tips of a person's fingers, shows us more minute differences in the aggregate charge of sparks exchanged between the fingertips and the charged metal, as differences along the 7-color spectrum reflecting, essentially, our mood at the time of the photo. We see here the simulated colors of her fingertips, amplified charges, shown projected onto an image of the person taking the picture, thus effectively depicting the aura of the person. The usual interpretation of the 7 chakras attribution to the 7-color spectrum applies in the interpretation of the colors simulated in these photos. If the electrical charge emitted from the body is strongly positive, the aura appears blue. If the electrical charge emitted from the body is strongly negative, the aura appears red. If the mood of the person is neither sad nor angry, their energy is neutral and appears green. In this form of depiction, our aura can appear as only one color, or as many different colors. The placement of colors in the different areas of our auras depicts the difference in electrical transduction between our different fingertips. There are, thus, 5 areas of the aura, each area of which can be one of 7 colors. When these 5 areas are all the same color, it signifies the alignment of the chakras, or that there is harmony of the same mood throughout the whole organism. When these 5 areas are not all one color, but each one different, it signifies the disalignment of the chakras, such that a being is restless or dissatisfied, or that their feelings at the time of the photo were mixed.